the midst of the chaos in New York City, what's better than to add a little more fire to the flames? That is, of course, states like Arizona, states like Texas are beginning to bus immigrants, illegal immigrants, out of our cities and into these wonderful sanctuary cities that have been saying, we need more diversity. We want to take your helpless. We want to take your loss. But it turns out that it was more fact or fiction than fact, and that the overwhelming influx of illegal immigrants is actually hurting their cities. Who would have thought? I don't know. Maybe we've been saying that this entire freaking time. Well, of course, these cities are calling for the National Guard. They're calling for federal help. They don't know what to do. And in the midst of all of this, these illegal immigrants are just being put in hotels. They're being pushed around the city, and they actually are being left without any help because these cities aren't prepared for the real crisis that's happening. So Emma Jo Morris, the politics editor at Breitbart News, went out to New York City in order to interview one of these illegal immigrants and to find out what the hell is actually going on and what is the treatment like. So I'd like to welcome to the show Emma Jo Morris. Welcome to Slightly Offensive.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you got this article that you wrote, and I gotta say, if you guys have not read it yet, and other than this interview, make sure you click the link in the description, make sure you copy it, make sure you send it to friends, as many people as possible. It's called Morris by You. It's my day with a Biden migrant, broke, abandoned, and lost in New York City. It says in the beginning that you went out without a plan. So you just kind of went out to New York. Why did you choose to go out and to try to interview or go out and talk to one of these Biden migrants?
Yeah, so I live in New York, and I got a tip from a colleague in Texas, Bob Price, at Breitbart, and he called me up and he said, the migrant buses that have been going to D.C., they're coming to New York next, and the first one is coming at 7 a.m. tomorrow. And so I figured, okay, I'll go cover it, and I came in not knowing what to expect, so I came in with an open mind. I figured, okay, I'm going to obviously report on the bus coming, and I'll see, how they're greeted or what is handed out, or I didn't know what to expect, so I just figured I would follow the story wherever it goes. So this bus arrives. Port Authority actually had no idea that it was coming. I went to the information kiosk at Port Authority to ask where to meet this thing, and they had no clue what I was talking about. They were like, Greyhound's the only one from Texas, and I'm trying to explain that it's not Greyhound. I had the information of what bus company it was, and they had no clue what I was talking about. So I go outside to the cops, who they know everything. If you spent enough time in New York, it's like the people who are on the streets, surveying the area, they see everything. So I went to the cops and I said, hey, I'm looking for a bus from Texas. And he looks at me and says, are you a reporter? So he obviously knew which bus I was talking about. And he tells me it's circling around. It has nowhere to park. They're looking for somewhere to stop. I'm confused, and my colleague calls me back and he tells me what gate it is. I run in. He had found out on the Texas side. I run in and find that there is a camera group that was from Fox News that was there and nobody else. So I'm thinking, okay, it's early. There just must not be people here yet from the city. Then all of a sudden, a group of volunteers shows up. They were like these 60, 70 odd aged women wearing masks, of course. And I write in the piece, they were clearly here to save lives or be kind or something. It's a vibe. They don't have to tell you. And they show up with their masks, and that's about it. And the bus pulls in. And I figured, okay, I'm just going to lay low. Fox does their thing. They're shoving cameras in people's faces and lights and asking if anybody has a message for Joe Biden. Obviously not. Nobody on that bus spoke English. So the Fox thing kind of passes, and the volunteers lead the group through Port Authority. They lead them to the front, and they start handing out burritos. And I'm just watching this, and I'm like, this is already like, okay, whatever.
It's like a Trump Taco Bowl moment. You guys like tacos?
Exactly. They gave us the best. They give them the best burritos in history or whatever. But anyway, so I'm just watching this all go on, and then all of a sudden the volunteers just disperse, and that was it. And it was kind of like, okay, good luck. And this bus of 60 migrants who speak not a word of English, who basically just got dropped off from the third world, they are just here now. So I'm thinking, okay, I guess I'll try for an interview, So I see a man, a woman, and a child standing next to me, and I turn to the man and I say, I'm a reporter from Breitbart. Do you want to have breakfast? Do you want to talk? And he doesn't speak a word of English. So I get out my phone and I type into Google Translate, is this your family? Can I take you for breakfast? Do you want to talk? And the woman and child kind of just like move off, and it was not his family, but he was interested in breakfast. So I say, okay. So we head over to the Upper East Side to Beach Cafe, which is, I'm a regular there. It's been described by New York Magazine as Republican Cheers, which I think that's an apt description. But I bring him to Beach Cafe, and we get to talking, and all of a sudden I find myself, doing this interview, but I'm also realizing that I'm sitting across from a human being who is definitely screwed. Like he has nothing on him. He has the clothes on his back. He doesn't speak the native language. He has no job, no papers, no nothing. And the city is providing absolutely nothing for him other than burritos. So
sorry, can we pause there just for a second? It's like to tell people this, right? They say they're a sanctuary city. They say we really want illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants are given to them, actually paid for by, I think, Texas state taxpayers. So I paid for his bus ticket personally. I think I gave like $26. They Greyhound him up. They show up at an odd time, crack of dawn, early in the morning. They're let out. Some people are there for a photo op, so they look like they're helping people. And then they're handed a burrito and told adios and just left out on the streets of New York City. This is what's happening.
Yeah. And
wow.
And the irony is in the part that I pick up as a New York taxpayer, because, and I write this in my story, Port Authority is really the epicenter of the homelessness crisis in New York. It is horrific. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Near the Garment District?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
right. Exactly. Right in the middle of the Garment District, like on 7th and 41st. And it's hideous. It's absolutely hideous what's going on. There's people sleeping all over the ground, needles all over the ground, whatever, it's public toilets on the ground. And it's desperate, and it's sad. Actually, it's sad. It's sad to see the most incredible city decay like that. And it's really a representation of that decay. And then you had this bus of illegals come who were, for all intents and purposes, invited as New York declared itself a sanctuary city. And they're just literally dumped on top of these other people who are here, who are also desperate and also in need of social services. And it's like, I called it in the piece barbarism by bureaucracy, because it really is like there's something really like there's carnage, that you're kind of watching in this whole scene, and nobody cares.
Well, and this is what I want to say, because, you obviously call him a Biden migrant, and I want to read this. Not only do they not care, but, you said that he mentioned, I couldn't come during Trump, his hands up and down wall. I smirked. He's like, I don't know if this is the same person, but at least one of
Yes.
This was the same person. I smirked and nodded in disbelief. He smiled back. This wasn't a cable news hit. He presumably wasn't a Breitbart reader. It was all true. He came because of Biden. So he literally told you that he couldn't come during Trump and the wall. And that this is in English. He was able to communicate that.
Wall. Yeah, he said
that's
wall
incredible. So it's like they admit it. Hey, this is the problem is happening because of Biden. Like, this is an actual issue. So that's where you call him a Biden migrant. Did you coin that term?
Maybe now I have. The piece has gotten some notoriety, actually, and I'm happy it has, because the truth is, I came in with an open mind, and I think he came in with an open mind too. He, I don't think, knew about Breitbart. I don't think he was a Breitbart reader. And we were both just kind of having this experience of meeting each other, and he was in this really weird and vulnerable position, and I was just kind of confused, and also just coming there kind of not knowing what to expect and not knowing what I would be writing. And it's this moment of sheer honesty, I think, from him, where he says, this was my opportunity and I took it. And that's why I call him a Biden migrant. And I'm not even trying to dunk. It's like he said it just like that. And he's a Biden migrant. He's a sanctuary city migrant. These people understand, and I don't blame them. Listen, I voted for the wall. I'm a Trump supporter. I don't blame them, though, because if I was from Venezuela, which is where he's from, which is, has abject poverty, has no economy, essentially, is living under a dictatorship, and somebody was saying, hey, here, just walk up to America and you'll get in and you can go to New York City. It's like, obviously.
Yeah, and it seems too good to be true, because everybody knows I'm from Hollywood. And my favorite thing is watching the disappointment on tourists' faces as they see what Hollywood really is, and like walking around and realize like basically Hollywood isn't glitz, glamour, and movies. It's
Yeah.
homelessness, feces, and dead bodies. So you're going, wow,
Yeah.
this is pretty insane. I mean, there's literally like, I mean, if you like things that are thick, talk about the layer of dirt that's on the streets, on the walls. It's disgusting. And I think that it's so sad because it's, in a city that cares so much. Everyone that in Hollywood Hills are activists. They love the environment. They love the environment, just not the people in their city. And you wrote this in your article, and I really, really struck with me as someone from a big city, seeing the lie that people buy and then they get abandoned. You said it's all so fake, all the virtue signaling, the fake compassion, the fake welcome, the burritos. I'm sorry. It's all, the burritos were real though, right? That weren't fake? That'd be sad.
They were real, but it's a testament. It was so dismissive.
It's like, yeah, but you said it's all just nonsense. You go, it's all just nonsense. Now we have this guy, and then Alfonso shows up with his wife and kid left in Chile, not knowing anyone here, expecting that there will be open arms and helping a hand waiting for him. But it's all false promise by liars who have invited him and abandoned him. And you say that these cities, as someone who lives there, are abandoning these people that they claim that they're supporting. And now they know what we're going through in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. And it's unfortunate that it has to be this way, but and Eric Adams and in DC as well, they're buckling under the pressure. And this is just a couple, in New York, we have a couple of hundred, and the New York City government is losing their minds. And it's like, imagine Texas has 5,000 a day.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely, we can't handle it. It's overwhelming. But obviously you had some compassion. That's what I like about you, is that even though people don't get it, you're a Trumpian, you wanted the wall, you're like, hey, in the end, still, there's a human being here. I don't agree with the way he got here. I don't like that he's here. I understand why he's here though. So I want to help him. So you buy him food, you're with him. And you talk about, needing to send him off when you're sending him off and you don't know what to do. And he asked you for your number, correct?
Yeah. So exactly. So I'm sitting across from this guy. I'm realizing how screwed he is, basically, and I feel bad for him. I start to feel like there's I was saying, like, there's this human element that's kind of at play as well. And he's just a guy. He's just a guy, and he's here illegally. And I don't agree with the decision that he made, but I understand it, and I really am starting to resent. The policies really that brought him here. As he just said, now is my opportunity because the border's open, right? So I say, okay, at one point I tried, we passed, as we were walking down the street, we passed guys in construction gear who were speaking Spanish. And I stopped and I said, this is very much like New York, and living in New York, you learn to spot opportunities. So I stopped and I asked these guys, hey, this is this guy Alfonso, and he just came from Venezuela, and can he work with you? And they were kind of hostile toward that, and they didn't really like that. But I coaxed them into giving me their number. So that he could maybe have an opportunity there. Then, after breakfast, I asked, okay, where are you going? Like, how much money do you have on you? Can we get you a hostel? Can we find you a room? Can we get you a shower and somewhere to lie down? I called a couple of hostels, and they were not interested in having this guy there at all. One told me under no uncertain terms, do not bring him here. I am not accepting him. Another one hung up on me when I called. So that was that. I bring him to a shelter, not a shelter, but like a community center that was near the restaurant in the Upper East Side. They said, no, we have nothing to do with him. We're women and children only. I'm feeling just despondent at this point. And I say to, I type to him in Google Translate, I say, like, where can I bring you? And he says, bring me back to Port Authority. I met some people on the bus, and I'll link up with them and I'll figure it out with them. So I say, okay. And I get a taxi back to Port Authority. And he asked for my number when we were in the taxi. And I'm thinking, like, I don't really want to give it to him, obviously. But I figured I'm kind of the only person in this country probably who cares if he lives or dies. So I'll give it to him. In worst case scenario, I can block the number. So I give him my number, and we part ways. And, I drop him off and I say good luck, and I leave, and I get home and start writing my story. And all of a sudden I see a text from him on WhatsApp. So I open it, and it's like an emoji with like a fist raised. So I just write back, like, "Estás bien?"
Yeah, like very innocent, just some nice wholesome connection.
Yeah, I thought he was just reaching out, to keep the connection open. So I said, "Are you okay?" And he sends back a dick pic. And that's it. So that was my day with Alfonso. Rode the
Man,
bandit in New York.
hey, that long bus ride makes a man horny, apparently. And the best part about this is you're a lesbian. You don't want any dick pics. So
Well,
illegal
yeah.
or legal? American made or foreign export?
Yeah, it's just, he's not my type.
Oh, and that's it. They say no good deed goes unpunished. So, that's what always ends up happening. You help people, you try to do things, and then, you end up just getting a dick pic in the end. And it's true, but you were being nice and you were trying. It shows you how difficult it is. And guys, if you want to read this whole story, it is so amazing. Remember, the link's in the description. You should go read it immediately. Support Emma Jo Morris and support her work. If people want to find you and follow you, both your writing and to keep up with you on social media, where can they follow you?
Yeah, I'm at Emma Jo NYC. Please, no dick pics. I'm not soliciting them, and I got nothing to do with them.
Yeah, she's happily in a relationship. Anyway, we love you so much, and you know what? This was such a great interview. If you ever write anything good or anything in the future or want to comment on politics, just make sure to write that down. That she's a good resource because you are absolutely lovely, and we appreciate you. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.